Hello, 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 everyone, and all reinventors. Well, welcome. It's Sue Crum here, and it's the first Wednesday of the month. So, for Word for Wednesday, we have the awesome Linda Downey with us today. Welcome, Linda.
Hey, Sue, how are you?
I am great, and it's always great to see your shining face. And I know we kind of had a brief conversation before, but what word for Wednesday do you have for us to kick off this new month of spring?
Oh my goodness, it is a new month, right? Yeah, I forgot. We picked trust to talk about the word trust, and I think so. Sue always acts like she doesn't know, but then she's prepared with the sign.
Well, she gives me a little heads up so I can write it all out. For those of us who are visual learners, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I thought that word could really, we could chat about it a little bit, and it would make a difference for both your ladies and my ladies, both groups of people. And I'll start with mine. So when I think of trust and I think of stress, because what I do is work with women who are burned out, chronically stressed, etc., having trust that things are going to work out is a problem. And there's a place where we look into their history of where did that become a problem and where did they decide that they can't trust. And so they have to be working really hard to create what they want and also worry about whether it's going to actually happen. So trust is a big thing for people who are in chronic stress and fight or flight. And I think trust is maybe an issue for your folks as well, no?
Well, it is to a certain extent. I think sometimes people don't trust that maybe someone else might have a better perspective or open them up to a growth mindset. And sometimes I think there are people that, they fear the unknown. And so they're hesitant to trust another person with their personal story or their personal challenges. And so they carry that burden around with them. And I do think once people reach a conclusion that maybe another perspective or another person could come into their world, that maybe that outside perspective could open up some things for them. So I do see that um, in some of the women that I work with. Yes, I do.
It's so interesting that you gave that because that's not at all what I was thinking about, but that's a very good point. I was thinking about, and I don't really, know your group, but I was thinking, stop, sorry, the dog, um, that maybe people who tend to collect things and save things and have a lot of clutter, it's because they don't trust that they can let things go and new things can come in. Like they don't trust the flow and the currency of movement. So there's you know a bringing in like that. I don't know. So that's what I was thinking when
Well,
I
yeah,
suggested.
there is that. Yeah, and some of the women that I speak with, and I've spoken to 1,600 women in the last couple of years, um, there is that. There, they want to hang on to the stuff, the sentimental stuff, because they don't trust themselves that they're going to remember about the person unless they hang on to all of the person's things.
Yes.
And that there is that, well, if I you know release to the universe so and so's sewing machine or favorite chair, I'm betraying that person by letting that go.
Yeah.
And so they're sure if they hang on and have the item, even if they can't use the item or sit on the item or find the item, or that they've got to hang on to it. And that's I do think it comes back to growth mindset versus fixed mindset. And I do think some women have the feeling that they've got to hang on to all of it as the memory of honoring that human being.
Yeah. Um, and what's so interesting about that is it's not only the physical things like the chair or the sewing machine, but it's also the stories, right? The story of grief, let's just say, if you've lost someone, you don't want to move yourself through the grief because you feel like that's betraying them if it was a loved one, maybe. Or a story of victimhood. Let's say your health. You don't trust that you can actually be out in the world healthy and vibrant. So you hold on to the story of I'm a victim of my health issues.
Mm.
So I feel like it applies to things and stories, identity that people have created. What do you think about that?
Well, I do believe that. I think it shows up in a lot of different ways. Chris just wrote that the recent tornado that happened in Kansas really made her sit up and take notice of the stuff that she has that she can't get rid of. And I think also all of those pictures and videos of the Ukrainian women walking out with a paper bag and a toddler in their arms, and that's it, really brings home that their journey, they were just trusting that they were going to get somewhere alive.
Yeah.
And they realized they weren't going back to what they had known. So there was no way for them to start to drag trunks and suitcases and dressers down the street and through other countries. They had to just trust that whoever was saying it's time to leave, it's time to leave.
Yes.
And so whether it's Kansas with a tornado or Florida with hurricanes or the Ukrainian women who have just been so strong, we have to kind of trust our own intuition.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Chris is writing about the Ukrainian women right now. It makes you realize that stuff can hold you back and stuff can belongings. It's like if you don't have your life and your breath, but you've got your favorite dresser from your grandmother and you've thrown your body over it, what good is that?
Right.
So I do think we have to trust our intuition. And I think women's intuition in particular is extremely strong. And I do think sometimes women are afraid to trust. Like you said, they've maybe been wronged by someone or there's been too much grief or stress. And so then they become they're just staying with themselves because they're fearful of trusting somebody else.
Yes.
Um, And now Carol's writing a comment. My lack of trust is related to stress and fear from early childhood experiences. You see this a lot with women who have had some kind of maybe sexual trauma, and all of a sudden they're the women. And I'm not saying this at all about Carol. I'm just saying there are women that have had some kind of an experience in their youth. And then they've gone, okay, I'm going to gain 100 pounds so that nobody's going to be looking at me as a thing, as a protection around them, kind of like a just a sheet of protection. It'll just be my excess weight because I don't want anyone looking at me with anything else in mind. So I'll just keep eating and adding to that.
Yeah.
So, what do you do with women who have big trust issues and are trying to break through that?
That's a huge part of of my program that we work on. And what Carol said, like the fear, and it doesn't have to be as traumatic as a sexual incident. All children, every single one of us, go through a separation, and the impact of that depends on what age that happens, where the child realizes they're separate from their mother or their parents, and how that unfolds, and than how well they're taken care of after that. So we all have that. And whether you've healed it or not is going to be a huge part of where you're at today in fear. And so that's a lot of the work that I do with women. Yeah.
That is phenomenal because Carol's writing that her parents had told her the world is a scary place. So then that becomes a real, almost introverted experience of fear of the unknown, fear of something new, fear of moving to a new place. If we get those messages over and over again,
Yeah.
it's got to be hard to break through that.
Well, it's looking at, was this my experience and my story, or did I learn that, right? So a parent said that. And a really easy example, I think, is to see, you could have someone who was told when they were a child, dogs are dangerous. Dogs are dangerous. So, maybe their mother had been bit when she was a little girl, or she's just overprotective. No, no, don't go near that dog. It's dangerous. And so now they're 35 years old and they're walking down the street and there's a dog coming towards them and immediately they're in fear. And they have a thought, that dog's going to bite me. Now, the messaging and the fear comes from someone else's message that was imprinted onto them. It wasn't even their thing. And so looking to see, so it becomes a belief, right? The meaning of that dog's going to bite me now feeds the belief of dogs are dangerous, and then dogs are dangerous creates the meaning every time you see a dog, that dog's going to bite me. And so we have to unravel that and say, what messaging and coding did I receive that's not even mine, and what can I let go of? So that's a really great place to start, and that's a lot of what we do.
When you said uncoding, can you describe that a little bit more for everybody?
Well, the coding, that's an example of coding, that dogs are dangerous, or money doesn't grow on trees, or boys don't cry.
Okay.
It's messaging, or it becomes part of who you are because you've heard it during those very early vulnerable times when you were developing, and you heard it from the people who meant the most to you. And they're just passing on either their own experiences or what they heard from their parents. That's what it is, generational coding. So it might be, during the Depression, your ancestors, your great grandfather, they really lost all their money and they were really poor. And now the coding that's come down is, the world is not safe, money is not available, right? So it's looking at, what coding did I get, and is it really working for me and how I want to live? Is it keeping me in stress and fear?
Yeah, that's interesting because I think I've shared before with you. My grandfather lived with me my whole life, and I watched him with his rubber bands that he would tie back together again and make into a rubber band ball, that kind of thing. Chris has written that her mother was very ill the whole time in her childhood, and then she then became fearful of the unknown
Mm-hmm.
over the period of years,
Mm-hmm.
because that seeing her mother go through that experience would kind of trigger that for her.
That's the coding. That's coding from the past that then we want to heal and release, so you can live in the present and in the possibility of the present and the future you want to create. Otherwise, her mother's fear is forever deciding and determining her life.
Yeah. So if somebody would want to talk with you more about this and how you could work with individuals, where can they go?
I always forget to be prepared for this one.
Sorry, this wasn't a trick question.
I know, we've been doing it for a month. You'd think I remember.
I know, but I'm going to put down, I know it's like Linda
at lindagdowney.com. How about that? That's my email.
At Linda, see, I can type this right now. lindagdowney.com.
That's my
So
email.
they could send you an email and say, can we do a complimentary breakthrough call or something, right?
Sure. Yeah, we could do that. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I want to promise that next time I'll be prepared, but I'm betting I won't be.
That is good. No, I think there are stories from our past that do keep people blocked or stopped, and they don't trust themselves that they can release those.
And they've never seen life in any other way, so it doesn't feel like there's a different way to see it, but it really is just their lens that they learned.
Right, right. And that's it. And when you can trust someone else, a professional to come in and take a look at that, it gives them another perspective. And I think that's so powerful because the stories from our past. Oh, Claire is here from Minnesota.
Hi,
All
Claire.
right, Lynn, that's great. So the stories from our past can keep us small and limited, and we have to trust that others, if we let them in a little bit, there may be others who can help in a mentoring or coaching capacity. So I think that is great. And so if anybody watching this or watching the replay later wants some more information from Linda, Linda at lindagdowney.com, send her an email and say, I'd like to connect with you. Now you also have a webinar. So can you give me that? And I can put that here as well. Oh, she's
No.
making a face. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
that's
I don't know what the link is. I don't know the link. I should have it memorized.
well, you told me before, and I don't have it memorized because
Well,
I'm
it's not
counting
your job.
on you.
I know it's not your job, Sue, to memorize
Okay.
my link.
Okay. Well, we'll
Mine.
give you a couple of weeks to remember that. Write it down. Have it on a card nearby the phone or nearby the computer screen, and we'll work on that. But in the meantime, you can reach Linda at lindagdowney.com and say, I really enjoyed your presentation on the word trust. Again, let me show you. We're trusting that you got that. That's our word for this Wednesday. And sometimes women need to trust their intuition and go, well, maybe I want to change these old tapes that are playing and get rid of some of that and release some of that to the universe. So Linda would be the person to connect with. And thank you so much for those of you watching today on this Wednesday. Linda will be back with us 2 weeks from today. And I will probably be doing a word for Wednesday next week. I was gone last week on Anna Maria Island in Florida. So I did not get a chance to do a call there, but I was connecting with 11 sorority sisters from college days, which were just yesterday, So that was fun.
I just want to say that my program Return, Restore, and Renew is starting next week. We have a group that's starting, and if you're at all thinking it's time for me to shift this and to shut down this stress, and I want to make myself a priority and invest in myself and my future, you can, get a hold of me sooner rather than later because we are starting this week.
So I put that in there in the notes just now.
Okay.
Return, restore, and renew. All right, and it's starting next week.
It is.
So today's only Wednesday, ladies, so we've got some time. And thank you all for being here today. And thank you, Linda, for being our guest interviewer today, and appreciate you being here.
Thanks,
Take care,
everybody.
everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Thanks so much.
Bye.